Okay, so there's two things Clint Eastwood wants to make clear for the people watching this movie. It's one, don't trust the FBI, and two, definitely don't trust the media. What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the new Clint Eastwood movie, Richard Jewell. I need your comments down below. Is this a movie you're looking forward to? Let's dive in. So Clint Eastwood's latest film is based on the true story of Richard Jewell, a security guard who stumbles upon a bomb at Centennial Park during one night at the 1996 Summer Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia. The bomb ultimately killed one person and injured over 100 more, but it could have been much worse if it wasn't for Richard Jewell successfully identifying an explosive device tucked under a bench just before detonation. But without anybody to put the blame on, the FBI proceeds to make Jewell its primary suspect, and mass hysteria ensues as the FBI and the media scramble to pull his life apart in order to build a believable case that he was indeed the bomber. Richard Jewell is played by Paul Walter Hauser. He's a relatively unknown guy. This is the first movie I've actually seen him in, but I gotta say he's really good in this and really makes the most out of playing this regular Joe Schmo. Which is funny because Jonah Hill was actually supposed to be playing Richard Jewell, which is why he's listed as an executive producer for this movie. But for some reason or another, he couldn't do it, so they settled on this guy. And honestly, I think it works out better having Paul Walter Hauser for this movie instead of Jonah Hill, even though I am a big Jonah Hill fan. Having an no-name casted really elevates the everyman quality the real Richard Jewell had. I mean, this guy, he's pretty much like me and you. He's gonna live his life without leaving much of a mark on a world before disappearing like a fart in the wind. But fortunately, or I guess unfortunately, in this case, fate had other plans for Richard Jewell, and he gets thrusted into this unbelievable situation, which I noticed is a common theme in Clint Eastwood's last 5 movies: American Sniper, Sully, The 1517 to Paris, The Mule, and now Richard Jewell. All these movies focus on ordinary dudes put in extraordinary situations, only to have them scrutinized and harshly judged in the aftermath. Jon Hamm plays the head honcho of the FBI investigating the bombing. He gets a call one day from one of Richard's old bosses, and that's all he needs to become convinced that Richard staged the bombing for the purpose of looking like a hero. Then he decides to leak the information regarding the case to Atlanta reporter Kathy Scruggs, putting Richard Jewell in the national spotlight. From this point on, we see Richard Jewell's life become a living hell, with the media on his case day and night, and the FBI invading every part of his privacy. I really like how this movie doesn't try to make a saint out of Richard Jewell either. He could have easily become this one-dimensional, goofy character, but we do get a few scenes early on where we see his flaws. The guy is definitely prone to self-destruction and just doesn't know when to shut the hell up, and we see how it ends up biting him in the ass later on. This movie also features great performances from Sam Rockwell and Kathy Bates. Sam Rockwell plays Richard Jewell's lawyer. He isn't the best attorney out there by any means. He's definitely in way over his head on this case, but his loyalty and friendship to Jewell never wavers, and their relationship honestly was my favorite part of this movie. Kathy Bates is also fantastic here. She plays Richard Jewell's mother. She's basically more of a realistic, watered-down version of her character in The Waterboy.
Foosball. You playing the foosball behind my back?
Usually moms in movies, they're pretty much throwaway characters, but if Kathy Bates is in the movie, you know that's not going to be the case. There's this one scene where she has to deliver this tearful press conference. She's begging the president, I think it's President Clinton, to let her son off the hook, and the speech, if it doesn't break your heart, you just don't have a heart. This movie is kind of unique in the fact that mostly all films about journalism, since All the President's Men, tend to favor the media side. Movies like Spotlight, The Post, Frost Nixon all make the media look good, but this movie, it rather takes a different view of journalism, portraying the media more as this immoral, ruthless constitution that's willing to do anything just for clicks. A lot is being made how this movie depicts the reporter Kathy Scruggs, who's played by Olivia Wilde. There's a scene in this movie where she trades sex with Jon Hamm's character for a tip on a bombshell story. This is an interesting decision on Clint Eastwood's part because no official accounts of the Jewell story even mentions this even took place, and the actual reporter is dead in real life, so it's not like she's here to defend herself. If this was a fictional story, that would be one thing. We've heard of reporters trading sex for stories before, right? That's nothing new. And female reporters trading sex for stories in movies is like a cliche at this point. But since this movie is based on a true story, and Kathy Scruggs was a real-life reporter, this storyline just kind of comes off as sexist and diminishes the real-life hard work Kathy Scruggs put in as a reporter. I mean, no one's out here saying Clint Eastwood had to give handjobs to Alfred Hitchcock to get his big break in Hollywood, alright? So we shouldn't be out here saying that Kathy Scruggs had to use sex to get her big break in reporting. That's all I'm saying. The way Clint Eastwood and writer Billy Ray decide to handle Kathy Scruggs is probably the worst thing about this movie, even though it's not the only thing I didn't like about Richard Jewell. The film does lose quite a bit of steam in the third act of this movie. The pacing is a little inconsistent and I felt like it dragged at times. I felt like the movie didn't know what to focus on. Was this movie about Richard Jewell? Was it about his mom? Was it about the lawyer? This movie was kind of like all over the place at times. But nonetheless, even though this isn't a perfect movie, its flaws don't stop Richard Jewell from being an entertaining drama and character study that's both moving and resonant, especially as it pertains to today's political climate. Clint Eastwood doesn't always get it right, but this very well might be his best film of the last decade. So I'm going to give this movie a solid B, and it's definitely worth checking out in theaters when it comes out December 13th. I don't see too many reviews and people who are covering this movie mentioning the fact that Clint Eastwood is 89 years old. 89! Yet he's still making great movies like Richard Jewell, and that shouldn't be overlooked. That's amazing. A guy who's almost 90 years old shouldn't be able to do this, but he is. So Clint Eastwood, while you're still alive, thank you so much. Just want to say thank you, man, for everything you've done. You're a legend. But alright guys, that's my review of Richard Jewell. Go ahead, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. All these other movie reviewers, they just give the same recycled, generic, unoriginal opinions. I at least tell it like it is. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more of my reviews. And always remember, movies may fade, but real legends never